obviously this is round one, and the, let me first start off with the fact that you and Carolina both filled out the questionnaire, which was great. And we came across keywords uh, that both of you touched on, right? Dependable,
Right.
established, enthusiastic, edgy, serious, traditional, strong, integrity, mainstream. So we're glad that she filled it out as well. And out of those keywords, we're going to focus on three different areas. And it allows us to explore different sides of the spectrum. So we got a serious approach, we're going to have an edgy approach, and a very strong approach. Okay.
Okay.
But before we get into that, I want to tackle the red and black colors. And thank you for sending that email to shed some light on the situation. Because what's the deal with the black and red colors on the current logo? And we found out there's absolutely nothing. So we're going to eliminate the black and red and focus on the Texas State brand identity. Okay.
Mm.
So the first approach I'm going to show you is a serious approach. So here's our serious traditional approach. This allows the elders, the established committee leaders who may be a little bit more conservative. I feel that this is a logo for them to say, yes, this feels comfortable, and it fits in with all of the other serious university collateral that you guys are already used to. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, another thing about this logo is that at the bottom, you can see how we can modify it to represent the different programs. And this can go on forever. Whether you want to take away a program, add a program, it doesn't matter. You have a cadence to follow to have more programs. And at the bottom left, you'll see that this is option A, serious. Here's one more example to show the flexibility of it. You see it now in a horizontal landscape orientation, so it doesn't have to be stacked all the time. And we threw it on the backpack just so you can see how it can be used on merchandise. Now, edgy. This is actually one of my favorite approaches. This edginess one actually has a two-tone application, okay? And you actually could remove the star and it can hold on its own. But let me show you why I love this two-color approach. That icon can change based on the program. So you see the upward bound,
Yeah.
the arrow going up, the talent search, student support. All these icons can change. So your logo is forever changing with the times, which gives it a really cool flexibility, And
That's awesome.
I'm just going to show you a picture of what that could look like, right? Because now you have something that people will say, hey, I want that. Like, I want that shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let me tell you about the program. Oh, okay, cool. And it says Texas State without saying Texas State all over it. Okay.
Right.
So this is the edgy approach. Now the strong approach, and I know I said edgy was one of my favorites, but the strong approach is something I really like because of it has an athletic feel to it. Okay. This is a very strong, bold. If I just saw this somewhere, I'm like, oh, that's Texas State, you know?
Right.
And here's how you could continue the multiple programs working with that logo. So it's a very strong, athletic approach, really fun and bold.
Right.
And obviously it looks good on almost anything, right? Sweaters, mugs, because of that like sporty feel to it.
Right.
Now, and again, you'll see this is option C, strong. How did we get here? Now I'm just gonna just fly through these. This is just all the like logo ideas that we just threw together in the beginning as we were brainstorming to show you how we got to where we are now. And the reason why I'm showing you all of these is because you might look through it and say, hey, you know what? I actually like this little element from over here. Can we incorporate that? Or you might just love the way we already put together some of these logos and say, you know what? This is it. Let's just run with this, because you can see how we got to, where we are, especially with this one. So the edgy approach, it's horizontal. When we were doing our mock-ups, it started vertical. If you can see the top middle, right?
Right.
It was a little bit too edgy. It was too modern, right? And people wouldn't know if that, what is that, Trio or TI? What is that? So we made it horizontal where it's easy to read, but we kept the idea of the elements behind it with the brackets. So that we're just showing you our journey. Even with the option C, you can see the bulge at the top and bottom on this top right one, which looks cool. That's kind of like too sporty. So then we went back and scaled it back with the just, regular approach. And instead of the low sentence case, we went to an uppercase for the elements on the right to give it that stronger feeling. So anyway, those logos are just showing you how we got to where we are. And, that's pretty much it. I would love to get your initial feedback, your gut reaction on all three. Which one speaks to you the most?
So in terms of the logos, this is fantastic, first of all, and I'll have to defer. I'll have to talk to our Trio leadership. And then, of course, I want to bring in Dr. Sherry Ben. She's the assistant vice president for our division that we're reporting in. And so we're looking to elevate this on a university platform. So I think 1 and 2 really work well for us. However, I do like 3 as well, because 3 has that athletic feel. There's room to use that in certain areas. I think it's fantastic for the staff that are going to be joining on this call and reviewing later. Don't let my opinion drive decision. We need to decide this as a whole. I think the only 2 things that I'll note is on the Trio, the third logo, the I is lowercase. It's actually, Trio is all caps now. So I know you probably saw 2 different versions of that logo. That's just with their marketing system. However, the play on that I mean, that still looks capitalized to me. Maybe we lengthen the I a little more. So that's one thing. Gotcha. And then the last piece is on the logos themselves. It should be student support services. Okay. So so it wouldn't be systems, but I mean, that's a quick fix, obviously. Yep. Aside from that, I think that you have captured the elements that we're really looking for. I like the logo. So when you go to Edgy, and you look over at the logo example with the hands in the background for student support services, that speaks to us in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a big piece. We're in that division. That's our division that we're just starting. That's going to be really critical. And it's also important because that fits in with our campus climate. So we're talking, those are college students. Upward Bound and Talent Search are high school and middle school students, a combination. And so that is really important. Initial questions that I would have are, what would be the, because we recognize that we're going to continue to grow our programs. So we may need different variations of these logos. And also on this screen here, if we have different ideas of, instead of an apple or an arrow or hands, if the staff think of other things, if we want those kind of edits, how does that work? And what would that cost be on a year-to-year basis?
Yeah, so we operate off of $100 an hour. Now, with that being said, we're really fast and we don't like to keep an open tab. So if you come to us and say, hey, can you send us, several examples for talent search? We'll say, hey, how does 1 hour sound? How does that estimate sound to you? And we agree on $100. And that way it's not like, oh yeah, we'll work on some stuff. And we come back with, a $5,000 bill. So we'll have a defined flat fee based off of $100 an hour. And if you agree to it, we do the work and then we're done.
Perfect. That's great to know. Okay, so next steps here. This is fantastic.